All right, we're moving on. We have part one of the Star Power. The part two is probably doing autographs, taking pictures, being awesome too. So please give a wonderful ConnectiCon welcome to Michael Mookie Terracciano.
All right.
All right.
It was a little rough.
Pick your boys up.
I'll pick this one. How's it going?
Yes, I'm here. Yes, I'm here.
Hi, everybody. How you doing? I'm doing fantastic. I have no voice, but that usually means I've had a fantastic weekend. So, plus when you get a voice like this, you sound like extra sexy, especially on a microphone. Hello there, everybody. Welcome to ConnectiCon Press Junket. Oh my.
All right, let's open the questions. It's tough. So you were telling me in the lobby how for Star Power, not only did you guys help create this wonderful thing, but you also write.
Yeah, well, Garth, my partner, Garth Graham, who's the artist for Star Power, he's the guy who made the cover for ConnectiCon's program, the same image that's on most of the badges. He's down at the exhibit hall right now, which opened at 10 o'clock, so he's at our merch table selling our book for Star Power, which is our webcomic that we do, and we have our first book available, and we are we're selling it, showing it off to people who don't know about us, coming to conventions to hopefully make it so that more people know about us who didn't previously know about us, which is why we always do conventions. Face-to-face time is so important, we feel, when trying to let people know who you are. And some webcomickers don't do a lot of conventions anymore because there are so many other ways, like online, to produce revenue, spread the word. But Garth and I are a little old-fashioned. We like the face-to-face time and meeting people and being among people who are passionate about the same things we are.
Amanda Stevens from She Attack. So, is this your 9 to 5 now?
Yeah, Star Power is my job.
Okay.
And I'm sorry.
So the follow-up to this would be, at what point did you decide to switch from whatever your 9 to 5 was to Star Power, and how did that feel?
Well, I didn't switch to Star Power initially. I was the writer and artist for a webcomic called Dominic Deegan, Oracle for Hire first. I did that for 11 years and 3,000 comics. I ended it back in May of 2013 because I was just done with the story, and I finished it. The reason why I've been coming to ConnectiCon for so long is because I was so well known doing Dominic Deegan. And I am, as far as I know, the only guest who's been to every single ConnectiCon since its very first show back in the University of Hartford, when it was like in the back of a dorm room or something, whatever the hell the building was, like a dining hall or something like that. So to see that the ConnectiCon has grown to this is fantastic. But to answer your question, to make the jump from my 9 to 5 customer service job to taking the plunge with Dominic Deegan, I felt like I was in the right place at the right time. This was back in maybe 2004 or so, where the lure of webcomics was still very bright, where it was a very new thing, and people were very, very excited about it. It was a new medium back then, relatively newish. It had been around for a while, but a lot of people still were kind of were warming up to it. So I had been, my readership was growing because I was doing conventions and more people knew who I was. So I said, you know what? I got to sink or swim. So I just tried it, and I've just been very, very lucky. And I've I can describe my webcomics career. I use career in air quotes as I'm kind of under the radar, but I've been supported by a very, very cool group of people over the years. And I'm never gonna break the internet, but that's fine. I don't need that level of fame or notoriety. I'm just comfortable enough to pay my bills and feed my kid. That's all I really need.
All right, thank you.
No problem. Yes.
George Robinson, confreaksandgeeks.com.
Hello.
Hello, how are you doing?
Doing great.
That's good. What would you say your inspiration for your webcomic would be?
Inspiration for the current webcomic is our love of comic books. Just our real love of comic books, of the medium, of storytelling. Just the visual medium of sequential art is so fantastic. I've been reading comics since I was a kid. My dad brought me home with like a box of comics that his buddy from work didn't want anymore. And I was way too young to be reading like Sergeant Rock and his World War II Commandos. I was like, this is great, this is awesome. One day they're all just gone because my mother found out what I was reading. I was too young, I didn't understand. I was like, these guys are all fighting guys with weird swastikas on their what's a swastika? I have no idea, they're clearly just the bad guys. Oh well. They must be like Cobra, sure.
Follow-up question. Did you have to go to school for writing, or did you?
I did eventually go to school for writing, yeah. I was an acting major in Boston, and I was really bad at it, so, but I always had writing, I was always taking writing classes. So when I switched my major senior year, I was the hardest working senior I knew of because I had to catch up with like 3 years of work. I learned a lot from being among other writers. I learned a lot from just like having them look at my work, critique it, just being among other people who are trying to do the same thing you're doing. I didn't learn everything. A lot of what I've learned has come from experience and like reading comics and doing comics and getting feedback from people who are seeing your work that's out there. Seeing your work in a classroom is much different than seeing your work out on the internet. You know, there's a different sort of like, it's kind of like a test, like a testing the waters feel of a classroom. But like when your stuff is just online, that's essentially just the real world, sorta, kinda, you know. So both are very valuable. Like having a writing group, whether it's in a classroom or a group of friends, is valuable, but getting your stuff out there is also valuable. They teach you two different lessons, both of which are super important. No problem. Yeah.
Charles from Full Coverage Writers. Hello. I was curious actually about Dominic Deegan. What was your experience like writing a decade-long story?
Oh, unforgettable. It was unforgettable. I have to recognize that I was very lucky with Dominic Deegan to be in the place that I was to start it at the time that I started it, when webcomics had this bright and shiny new lure to it. If I'd started Dominic Deegan today, I don't know if I would have been as successful or attracted as many people. So I have to recognize that I was very lucky. But the experience of it, I mean, everything I have to thank for that comic and the people I attracted, the people who supported it. I met my wife because I was here promoting Dominic Deegan, and she was working for ConnectiCon. We're now married and have a child and a house, so thank you, ConnectiCon. I met Garth because I was here at ConnectiCon promoting Dominic Deegan. He was promoting his webcomic he was doing at the time. We just stayed in touch and stayed friends, and like when we both finished our previous works, we just teamed up and we creatively rejuvenated ourselves with this collaboration. There are so few horror stories and an abundance of amazing stories that have come from doing a story that long. And from attracting the kind of people that I did, people who are very passionate about storytelling, people who are passionate about comics, who are as hopelessly romantic as I am, who love the sappy romances as much as I do, like the kind that cause cavities. They're so freaking sweet. Like, ugh, just stop with the hugging. We get it. Ugh. Like, no, 3 more pages of hugging and kissing. It was an unforgettable experience, and I would do it all again exactly the same way if I could. It's just the best. Everything I have to thank Dominic Deegan for, and a lot of ConnectiCon as well. Hey, dude.
Hey, James Mike Carbonari.
I know.
ConnectiCon publication staff. So you made the transition from Dominic Deegan to Star Power, Garth, who made the transition from Community to Star Power. How was that transition for you guys?
The transition was, we were very worried about it, because we were both solo creators for years. Garth was the writer and artist for Community and Finders Keepers. I was the writer and artist for Star Power, Dominic Deegan, Oracle for Hire. So we both had total creative control over projects for just about a decade. So we were both very used to just that kind of work, approach to our work. And we'd heard horror stories of like friends collaborating and the friendship falls apart Because you have like, well, no, I think this should happen this way. I think this should happen that way. Screw you. We're never speaking again. We were very worried about that happening, so we were both approaching things very carefully, very cautiously, like, dude, I respect you, but again, I have luck to thank. I'm a very lucky dude because we both work very similarly. We're both looking for the very same things out of making a superhero comic. It may have been different if we were trying to make a fantasy comic together, but we're making a sci-fi superhero comic. So we're both looking for the same things. Like, I want my aliens to look like this. Oh, dude, so do I. Oh, awesome, all right. I want our story to go this way. Oh, dude, so do I. Okay, this is kind of awesome, I think. And that's just been our work experience for the last 2 years. It's just been like, I'm worried you're gonna do this. Dude, I'm not gonna do that. Oh, okay. Was worried for a second. No, don't worry. But even when we do disagree, it's not, the most he's ever had to correct me has been, he once said I had to scrap 12 pages of script because they were bad. And he told me why they were bad. He wasn't just like, this sucks, do it again. It was like a 5-page email, like, dude, I hate to tell you this, these pages aren't good. This is why. And he went through the reasons. And he gave me a critique. And he was my editor. And I'd never had that before with Dominic Deegan. Excuse me. So I was aggravated, not at him, but that he was right. That I'd given him crap. And I had to change it from page 1. I was like, well, shoot. I used to just have to fix this on the fly with Dominic Deegan, but he caught it before he put it to paper, so shoot, here we go. But collaborating has creatively rejuvenated us both as well. The transition has, besides just our approach to the work, the way we work, now that he's just drawing and I'm just writing, we were both kind of sick of doing the other's job. Like, I was getting a little tired of drawing, he was getting a little tired of writing. So, again, very lucky. That's how we just fit together. And we both advise each other on the other's job. Like, he'll tell me what he wants from a script, clearly, because I once had to redo 12 pages. And I'll tell him, like, dude, that panel should be emphasize this a little more. This facial expression should be a little more this. She looks a little too happy in that panel. Make it a little more serious. And again, we both know the other's work, our experience with the other's work, and we respect each other's opinions so much that, we both are trying to make the best webcomic we can, the best sci-fi superhero story we can. So it's been an easy transition. Yeah.
Vladimir Moreau, New England ComicConReviews.com. How was it writing a 10-year comic? Did you ever just find yourself stagnant at one point?
Sometimes, but they were never long stagnations. They were like I would hit maybe like a writer's block for a day. Again, but I mean, I was with the same cast of characters for such a long time that they didn't begin to write themselves, but I knew when I wasn't doing something right. I had enough. I grew enough of a backlog of history, of story, because I just stuck with them for such a long time that when I would make a story choice and I would look at it, when I drew it was like, oh, that's not right. That doesn't really work. I don't know if I'd recommend sticking with the same cast of characters for 10 years. It's a little different for everybody. Some people who have done webcomics for like 10 years are still going with the same cast. They just have that those creators just have that longevity. They just have that many stories they want to tell with that cast of characters. And, they come to know them, they come to grow with them. Their artwork changes, their storytelling style changes. But not everybody has that kind of longevity, and that's not a bad thing. Maybe you're not supposed to stick with the same cast for 10 years. Maybe you're meant to tell shorter stories with briefer glimpses into characters. There's no one right way to approach a long-form story. I mean, you can do the same setting with a bunch of different main characters. I chose to do one main character for 10 years. It worked for me. I loved it. But I recognized when I was starting to get a little tired of the cast. And I was like, before that gets into something that makes the work suffer, it's time to end it.
You admitted to being a big comic fan. Do you have a favorite single issue?
Oh, jeez. Of a comic?
Yes.
No, I don't.
Aw.
Well, because I have favorite stories.
You have, okay, so what's like a favorite arc then?
Oh my goodness.
Between your children.
Oh, of the comic that I made or
no,
comic I read?
Right.
Okay. I have two favorites.
Sure.
It's a story called Superman Birthright. Mark Wade, and Lionel Yu. One of my favorite Superman stories. Favorite Superman origin stories. Another is All-Star Superman by Grant Morrison and Grant. Oh my God, the name of the artist. I can't.
Garth Ennis, I thought was.
No. Oh, Frank Quietly.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
He
Yeah.
also does, he did the X-Men run with the leather.
I think yes. All-Star Superman is another one of my favorite Superman favorite story arcs. That just, I love the Superman origin story, and I love that take on it. I don't need to see any more takes on Superman's origin because I'm pretty sure that just nailed. To me, that nailed it. All-Star Superman is the most powerful Superman has ever been, and it's one of the most incredibly intriguing stories I've read of Superman. So Superman's my favorite superhero.
Okay.
Love the guy when he's written well. But I think anybody can say that about any superhero. Like, we love them when they're written well.
I really liked Animal Man when Alan Moore did it.
Oh man, I love Animal Man.
But otherwise, he's not.
I like Animal Man in 52. Like a weekly series, 52.
Oh yeah.
Oh God, it was so good. Ugh. But yeah, so and that as well, 52. So I have three. So also, damn it. But I can't think in single issues. It's like asking like what's your favorite chapter in a book. You know, I mean, but that's just how I think. Like I think in the terms I think in long form. Again, I did a 10-year story. I did a 10-year comic book, webcomic. So I always think in like beginning, middle, and end. So, I mean, I have favorite parts, but I always think in like in a bigger picture. Because if an ending sucks, I hate the rest of the story. Then but endings are very important to me.
I think we got time for 2 more questions. We'll have
Hello, my name's TJ Light. My nickname's GameBots. I have a podcast which is wrestling, so I'm like a different field, but
It's okay, I'm a pro wrestling fan too.
Yeah, I can ask you oh, you are? Oh,
Yeah.
Awesome. So,
It's a good Cesaro shirt.
thank you. I review the 2001 storyline of WWF or WCW came in.
Okay.
So, it's a convoluted mess and everything, but besides that, when I have to review wrestling and it's boring, I kind of, stave off and don't want to do it at all. With you, what do you do when you have that moment when you're like, I cannot continue this whatsoever? What do you do?
I never had that moment with Dominic Deegan, I guess until I brought it to an end. Because I knew it was coming to an end. But I'm in a different field because I'm not reviewing things, I'm making things.
Right.
Which is a whole different approach. But when I'm lucky because I'm a creator. That sounds a little pretentious. I'm sorry. I should rephrase that. When you're making a comic and you're not making a comic for anyone but yourself, you have the choice to end it when you're sick of it. You have the choice to bring it to a close and work on another project. Whether everybody will follow you to another project, whether everybody will be happy with how you ended your story, that's a whole other discussion. That's a whole other worry. But I do have that freedom. Like if I get sick of Star Power, the comic that I'm working on now, I can say to Garth, I want to bring it to an end. How he will feel about that, how everyone else will feel about that is a whole other issue. But again, I have that freedom of choice to do that. And I think we have one.
Do you want to pick the last one?
We haven't heard from you.
Troy Ackman, BW Media Spotlight. This question might have been asked because I got in late, but as superheroes are getting more towards darker and away from all ages or even kid-friendly material, you're doing an all ages, kid-friendly superhero comic. Why are you not following the trend?
Well, Garth and I were sick of the dark and gritty. Some guys write dark and gritty very well, and power to them. We don't do that. We don't like it. We don't want to make it. So one of the reasons why we made Star Power was because we weren't seeing the superhero comic we wanted to see. And instead of waiting for someone to do it, or waiting for someone to do something really cool, and then the next writing creative team to come along and turn it all dark and gritty, women in refrigerators, we decided to, take the helm and do it ourselves. And that's the beauty of webcomics. That's the beauty of the internet nowadays. Is that if you're not seeing what you like, you're not seeing what you want, make it yourself. Whether anybody likes it, that's a whole other story. But you have the freedom to do it yourself. Again, dark and gritty, some people do it very, very well. I could never write anything on the scope of Watchmen or anything like that. But it's a super valuable comic. It's a super valuable addition to comics literature. But the bright stuff, the stuff that, your mom's not going to take away from your 10-year-old if you bring home a copy of Sergeant Rock and his World War II Commandos, you also need to just have the, Superman saving the day from invading aliens, or Spider-Man stopping bank robbers. There is still a need for that stuff to get people in, or get kids, or people who never read comics into comics. Plus, I think there is with the Marvel movies, I guess there is I feel like there is a trend towards away from some of the darker, gritty stuff, and more towards the more accessible, more action than violence kind of approach to comics. So, but there's still the dark and gritty stuff being made, and those people can make that and make it very well. I'll stick to the brighter stuff and be very happy doing it. Cool, we're out of time.
Yes, but before we go,
Okay.
not only the exhibit hall, but where else can we find you today?
Today, really just the exhibit hall.
Just the exhibit hall?
Yesterday, I hosted the cosplay death match in main events. Filled the room.
That must have been crazy.
Oh, it was amazing. That's kind of my other baby here at ConnectiCon. I started the death match after hosting the cosplay chess match. I pitched the idea to Matt Daigle, who runs ConnectiCon. Like, hey dude, I have this idea for an event kind of like the chess match. Can we try it? And he said, yeah, sure. Boom. As far as I don't even know if the chess match is even here anymore.
I'm not entirely sure.
I think the death match kind of took it over. Yeah.
And you have comics for sale?
Comics for sale. If you don't want to buy anything, you can still come and talk to us. Garth and I are, as you can see, have no problems talking for any length of time. Come and see us. Come and talk to us. We're open books.
All right, let's give it up for Mike Mookie Terracciano. I got it again. I have to. It's a long thing.
It's a long name. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much.